They moved into my home without asking and got what they deserved. Growing up, my sister and I were inseparable, but things shifted after she tied the knot. What went down just a few days ago is something I'll never get over. The name's Megan, 31 years old, and I'm the proud owner of a simple 3-bedroom house. It's not flashy, but it's mine, and I've worked my tail off for a decade to pay it off. Sure, I get a little jealous when I see my friends living it up in those posh downtown apartments, but then I remember I've got no landlord breathing down my neck and no messy roommates to deal with. It's just me, my house, and my peace. Now let me tell you about my sister, Rachel. She's 38, married to her high school sweetheart, Josh, and they've got 2 little ones. Rachel and I were tight when we were kids, but once she got married, her focus naturally shifted to her own family. I can't say I blamed her. Life happens, you know? We still stayed friendly, though, at least, that's what I thought. Rachel and Josh have always been the live for the moment type. They're the kind of people who constantly talk about ditching the grind to live their best lives. During family dinners, Rachel would sip her wine and lecture me, "Megan, you've got to get out more. Life's too short to be stuck at a desk." I just roll my eyes and reply, "Some of us like knowing we'll have a paycheck next month, Rachel." And of course, Josh would chime in with, "It's about the experiences, not the money." Yeah, well, experiences don't pay the mortgage, buddy. I always warned them to be more careful with their finances. They were constantly booking last-minute trips or buying the newest gadgets, even with 2 kids to look after. But did they listen? Nope. A few months ago, they finally did it. They sold their house during the market boom, planning to fund a year-long adventure traveling the globe. I remember that phone call like it was yesterday. "Megan, we did it." Rachel squealed. "We sold the house." I nearly spit out my coffee. What? Are you serious, Rachel? What about the kids? Your jobs? "Oh, we'll homeschool on the road," she said breezily. "This is our chance to really live." I tried reasoning with her. "Rachel, have you thought this through? Traveling isn't cheap, especially with kids. What happens when the money runs out?" But she just brushed me off, laughing. "Stop worrying, Megan. We've got it all planned. Hostels, volunteering for room and board, it'll be fine." Spoiler alert, it wasn't fine. At first, their social media was a flood of pictures, 5-star hotels, gourmet meals, and hashtags like #living the dream. But within 2 months, the posts dried up. The last one was a blurry shot of them camping in a random field with some pretentious caption about embracing simplicity. Then radio silence. I thought they were just soaking up the adventure. Turns out, I was completely wrong. One evening, after a grueling day at work, I dragged myself home dreaming of wine and bad TV. But the moment I stepped inside, I knew something was off. There were shoes I didn't recognize by the door, kids' backpacks scattered on the floor, and voices, familiar voices, coming from my living room. I walked in, and there they were, Rachel, Josh, and their 2 kids, unpacking boxes and suitcases. In my living room. "Rachel?" I blurted, staring at the chaos around me. "What the hell are you doing here?" "Hey, surprise," Rachel said with an annoyingly cheerful grin. "We're back." "Back? At my house?" Josh stepped forward, grinning like this was all perfectly normal. "Yeah, we decided to end the trip early. Turns out traveling full-time with kids is harder than we thought. And Mom gave us your spare key," Rachel added casually, like that explained everything. "The one you gave her for emergencies? I knew you wouldn't mind us crashing here for a bit while we figure things out. Just a few months, tops." "A few months?" I could feel my blood boiling. "Rachel, you can't just waltz in and move into my house without even asking me." "But we're family," she said, feigning innocence. "I thought you'd want to help us." "Help you?" I snapped. "Rachel, this is my house. My space. You should have at least asked." Josh, ever the entitled one, decided to chime in. "Come on, Megan. Don't be so uptight. Family's supposed to help each other out." Besides, you've got all this space, you're not even using it. I couldn't believe the audacity. You guys need to leave, I said firmly, crossing my arms. But Rachel just shook her head, and Josh, of all things, tried to intimidate me. Don't make this difficult, Megan, he said, looming a little too close. We don't have anywhere else to go. I felt trapped. If I called the cops, their kids might get caught up in the mess, and I didn't want to put them through that. So I stormed off to my bedroom, locking the door behind me. Sitting there, I felt like I was about to break down. I had no idea what to do until my phone buzzed. It was Alex, an old college friend. Hey Meg. In town for work. Drinks tonight? When Alex showed up, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Standing on my doorstep was my old college buddy, but he wasn't just Alex, he was dressed head to toe like a police officer. And not just a cheap Halloween cop outfit either. This getup looked legit, right down to the shiny badge and handcuffs hanging from his belt. Are you moonlighting as a cop now? I asked, my voice dripping with disbelief. He smirked, leaning casually against the doorframe. You like it? Turns out, this little number is a hit at parties. Long story short, I was out pulling pranks with some friends, and, well, let's just say I've been living the dream today. What's going on with you? I was too stunned to question him further. Instead, I quickly filled him in on the disaster unfolding in my house, how Rachel and Josh had decided they could just barge in and take over my space, how they'd been completely unapologetic about it, and how I had no clue how to get them out without causing a family scandal. Alex listened closely, his expression shifting from amused to downright gleeful. By the time I finished, he was grinning like he'd just been handed the juiciest role of his life. Well, Phoebes, he said, adjusting his collar, you're in luck. Because Officer Johnson is on duty, and it sounds like this is exactly the kind of case I specialize in. Wait, what? No, Alex. But it was too late. He was already in character. He straightened his shoulders, lowered his voice to an authoritative baritone, and shot me a wink. Let's handle this. Before I could object, he stepped through the door, his boots clicking dramatically against the hardwood floor. I followed, half horrified and half intrigued, as he surveyed the space like a detective walking onto a crime scene. Then, without missing a beat, he turned to me and said, loud enough for the whole house to hear, "Where are the suspects?" I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing as I called out, "Rachel? Josh? Could you come here, please? Someone needs to talk to you." A moment later, they appeared in the hallway, looking completely at ease until they saw Alex. Rachel froze mid-step, her eyes widening. Josh's confident stride faltered as he took in the uniform, the badge, the imposing stance. "Good evening," Alex said, his voice calm but stern. "I'm Officer Johnson. We've received a report of a situation at this address. Mind explaining what's going on here?" Josh blinked a few times, clearly trying to process the scene. Situation? There's no situation. We're family. Everything's fine. Alex didn't even flinch. Family or not, entering someone's home without their permission is a serious matter. How exactly did you gain entry to this residence? Rachel looked at me, her face pale. We used a spare key. Mom gave it to us. It was for emergencies. And was the homeowner aware of your intention to use this key? Alex asked, folding his arms across his chest. No, I said, shaking my head. I didn't even know they were in town. I see, Alex said, his tone growing even more serious. Then I'm afraid this constitutes an unlawful entry. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises immediately. If you refuse to comply, we may have to escalate this matter. Josh's face darkened, and he took a step toward Alex, puffing out his chest. Now, hang on a second. There's no need for all this. We're not criminals. We're her family. Alex didn't back down an inch. Sir, family or not, trespassing is still against the law. I suggest you gather your belongings and vacate the property now to avoid any further complications. Rachel grabbed Josh's arm, her voice trembling. Let's just go, okay? We don't want any trouble." Within minutes, the two of them were scrambling to pack their things. Rachel was practically shoving clothes into suitcases, while Josh muttered under his breath about overreacting and family loyalty. Their kids stood off to the side, wide-eyed and confused as their parents frantically threw toys and clothes into bags. As they reached the door, Alex held out his hand. "And the key?" Rachel fumbled in her pocket and handed it over, her hands shaking slightly. "We're sorry," she mumbled before hurrying out, dragging Josh behind her. The second the door closed, I burst out laughing. I laughed so hard, tears sprang to my eyes. "Alex," I said, gasping for breath, "that was the most ridiculous and amazing thing I've ever seen. You're a lifesaver." "Ridiculous," he said, feigning offense as he plopped down on my couch. "You mean brilliant. Now, how about some coffee?" Still giggling, I headed to the kitchen and brewed 2 cups, my shoulders finally relaxing for the first time in days. When I returned, Alex was lounging comfortably, looking like he'd just wrapped up a scene in an Oscar-winning drama. "You know," he said, sipping his coffee, "I still can't believe they thought they could just take over your house like that." "Me neither," I admitted, sinking into my chair. "Part of me feels bad. Rachel's my sister, and I hate the idea of causing a rift in the family. But the way they acted." "Hey," Alex interrupted, his tone firm. "You're not the bad guy here. People can't just take advantage of you, no matter who they are. You stood up for yourself, and that's nothing to feel guilty about." As I sat there, sipping my coffee and listening to Alex's reassurances, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. For the first time in days, my house was quiet, my space was mine again, and I realized something important: standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary.